McKinney. I'm the Community Involvement Coordinator for the site. With me tonight is Raji Joseph. She's a remedial project manager for the site. She's in charge of cleaning it up for EPA. Joining us is Chris Villarreal. He's the section chief for EPA, so he's in charge of all the sites in Texas. Joining Raji and I is Diane Britt, right there. And then she is with Texas, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. She's the project manager for TCEQ. Joining her tonight is Terry Andrews, and then John Flores right here, my counterpart. We have Oscar Valdez from Omar Valdez from the Texas Department of Health. Are you here, Oscar? Okay, Omar, he's right back there. From Harris County, we have Lita Castleberry, she's right there. And then we also have Sarah Util, she's right there. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. And we have I know we have some elected officials tonight. We have State Representative Sam Harless, his representatives here. You can stand up, she's right over there. And then also Representative Hunt, we have Peyton Archie here. He's right back there. Do we have any other elected officials?
Commissioner Tom Ramsey is on his way.
Hold on just a second. Tom Alderson, okay, and yours, sir?
Commissioner Tom Ramsey.
Commissioner Tom Ramsey? Okay, would either of you like to speak?
He may.
Okay. Okay. If you let me know when it comes in, we can have him speak.
Yes, sir, I will, thank you.
We also have tonight, we have Spanish speakers, which is right back there. We also have Vietnamese speakers. Do we need any Spanish speaker or Vietnamese speakers tonight? Okay. Just to let you know, this is one of our first meetings back from COVID, so we're glad to be here. And okay. Well, let me have Raji come up and talk to you. We'll get started. Thank you. Also, if you could hold up questions till the end. We'll have plenty of time at the end once we get through it, so if you can hold your questions off, and then Raji will be able to answer them. I'm sorry, no?
Hi, I'm here from the Office of State Representative Penny Morales Shaw. I just wanted to let you know that we're here this evening to hear the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Here you go, Raj.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming here. And what I will do is I will go through the presentation, and I have, the presentation will probably take about 20 minutes or so, 20 minutes, half hour. And once I get through the presentation, we'll just open it up for questions. So what I'm going to share today is what we know about the site so far. You all know about Jonesville site, and I will show you where that is, and walk you through where we are today and what we know today and where we need to go from here. So just in terms of what I'm going to cover, can you all hear me in the back? Yes. Okay. And if I'm getting muffly or you're not able to hear me, just please raise your hand. I don't want to lose you all out, so just let me know. So I will talk about the Superfund authority itself, or what our authority as EPA we have under Superfund, and the cleanup process that we are going to be, what we have done so far. And then I will also give a background and all of the site, and then all the response actions we've taken so far. And then I will share maps, and you'll see those maps there as well, of the sampling results. And these are from September of 2022, the latest results. And then I will also talk about the infrastructure bill that we have funding from and our next steps. And also one request to everybody who's within the waterline area, and I will show you what that is for you all to sign up to be connected to the waterline. So I'll go through that as well. So as you can see in this map is big, but then the Jones Road Superfund site is right there. It's off of Jones Road. It's a Superfund site, and it became a Superfund site. It was listed on the NPL on the National Priorities List in 2003. And so that's where the site is. It's off of Jones Road. And in terms of I'll quickly go through the authority and then go into the steps of the site itself. And because a lot of times we don't get an opportunity to talk about what our authority is, because we have to, whatever we do, we have to do within the confines of the Superfund law or CERCLA. And CERCLA stands for Comprehensive Environmental Response and Compensation and Liability Act, and it's also in short known as Superfund. So whatever we do, EPA, whatever steps we take, we have to do it within those confines of the law. And then also the CERCLA was passed in 1980 by Congress, and it was and gave EPA the authority to administer the law. And we also work with the state, local, and tribal partners to get sites clean. And also, if we normally go and seek responsible parties to clean up the site, and a lot of times they go bankrupt or they leave, and we are not able to find the responsible parties that actually caused the pollution or caused the hazardous waste to be released to the environment. Then EPA takes it on, and we have Congress appropriates funds for EPA to go clean up that site. So every year we get money appropriated by Congress, and we use that money to clean up that site. And so this is how it works for all Superfund sites. So if we don't have a viable party that cleans up the site, then EPA takes it on, and that's what happened here. We had settled back in the late 2000s. We had settled with the owner at that time, and then EPA has since taken on the cleanup of the site. So before I get into the site itself, the background, and where we are with the site itself, I know you are not going to be able to read this, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the steps it takes for us to do anything under the Superfund law or CERCLA. So first of all, I'll quickly go through it. First of all, there's a preliminary assessment and site inspection that's done. Let's say we get information from either the county or the state, and they refer a site to us. A site team goes and investigates that site, and then they go through a process of ranking it, and then if it meets a certain rank, it gets listed on the national priorities list. That's the next step. And once it gets listed on the national priorities list, it's published in the Federal Register, so and public comment on it. And once it becomes final in the Federal Register, then it comes to EPA, and it gets assigned to EPA, and EPA goes through the process of either finding a responsible party, or EPA requests funds to clean up the site. And then once we have ironed all that out, either EPA or the responsible party to do the cleanup, then we go through something called the remedial investigation process. And that's a process where we investigate, like, where is the plume? Because right now, based on the history of any given site, we don't know how much contamination is released into the ground or into the groundwater. We can only guess. So we are trying to get an estimate of how much, what is the extent of the nature of the contamination, how big is the plume, or how big is the contamination. So that's a process that sometimes could take years, like some sites it could take 5 years, some sites it could take 8 years, just to figure out where we have to chase the contamination down. So that's what we do in the remedial investigation. And once that investigation is done, then we do something called a feasibility study, where we look at alternatives that we need to, that would work to clean up the site. Because if you have the groundwater site, and it's very deep, there are only certain alternatives that would work to clean up that site. Maybe it can be concrete, maybe there could be other options, but we have to, that's the feasibility study phase. Then it goes into a public record called record of decision, and once we have the alternatives selected, we have a proposed plan, and the proposed plan, we have a community meeting, we get everybody's input, and then once the remedy is selected at that point, then it goes into a record of decision. And this site also has record of decisions, it's on our website. And for this site, it was done in 2010, the original record of decision. And then after that, it doesn't stop there. Then we have to go through the legal design process, where any alternative, any selected remedy we have to come up with a design. If it's a soil vapor extraction system, we can just order something off the shelf and put it there. We have to customize it for the site. So sometimes that requires additional sampling and additional investigation to figure out, okay, how do we exactly tailor the system for this site, depending on the site conditions. And then we actually go ahead and implement the remedial action. So that's that step. And then after that, we kind of finish the construction, and then after that it goes to post-construction, and then eventually it gets deleted from the national priorities list. To get deleted from the national priorities list, you have a long list of things that you have to check off. So then it gets deleted, and then it gets into EPA. So that's in a nutshell the steps that we go through.
Raji, hold on just a second. Everybody, Commissioner Ramsey's here, he'd like to speak to you.
Thank you for, let me take a minute. Thank you EPA Region 6 for giving us an update, briefing. I just wanted to express concerns that I would have as you have a wrong spot here. Again, my name's Tom Ramsey, Harris County Commissioner, Precinct 3. For 40-something years, I've functioned as an engineer. I will tell you, I'm not a Superfund engineer. I'm just a dirt-kicking civil engineer. But I've seen a few sites and just wanted to express and encourage the EPA as you go through your process. And thank you for sharing your details. I think I'll start with this site has been identified for over 20 years. There's been numerous studies done. And I know a bit about studies. I think people are at their end of their patience. I think they've been very patient in the area on how long it's taken. I think it's time that we move beyond studies and into remedial action. And I know that has been identified. But the one thing I think missing from the conversation that you're leading is dates. And that's a classic, and I'm not being critical of you specific, but certainly I've seen that in the case of EPA in years past. I can identify 2 or 3 Superfund sites in the Houston area that is study after study after study after study. And I think I want to express in terms of my office in Precinct 3, it's time we start remediating. It's time we start removing the product from the aquifer. Because one or two things are going to happen. When you remove the product from the aquifer, it quits spreading. And currently, it's spreading to the west, I think, in terms of what information I've been told. So at this point, I think the targeted study area is contained within the original area. When we know there may be some movement in the plume, and so that's a concern. That would be what I would call the nature and scope of the investigation. But I would think it's high time we started removing product. I think y'all got a lot of different techniques that at least I'm aware of to do that. You've tried some vapor extraction and some other things, which was good. That's if it works and if it begins to eliminate, then that's great. But I would encourage you to get dates. We in this neighborhood have been very patient for a long number of years, and dates would be give everybody an indication of certainty. We're all property owners in Precinct 3. This is a key issue. And let me just say that as clearly as I can. For most of us, our home is our highest investment. And when things are being done, whether it's being done here or in East Palestine, Ohio, it's important that we react to these emergencies in an urgent and 911 manner. So I would ask you, I would plead with you to get this on the urgent track. I don't think you can say 20 years is urgent. So please take what you've learned from the last 20 years and let's move to that next phase. The other thing I would want to say, I think your communication, this is good. We probably need more of these, but this is a good thing. But I had to look at the sign posted near this site. And you have to have really good glasses to read it. And having served as mayor and now as county commissioner, I know how to make a big, bright sign. And I think this requires a big, bright sign. We need to be communicating with people where it is, what it is, so that at least we as a community can understand and get some sense of confidence that we've got a plan, we've got a date, and we know what's going to come about. So thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate you doing this. I'm not coming here to create a problem. I'm coming here to try to communicate, and hopefully we can get a plan and get that started quickly.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. We appreciate all your comments. We are here to provide dates. We're on board with you. I appreciate, I'm glad to see all these people here tonight. If we can do better communicating with y'all, we're always looking to do that. If you can sign in at the back, we can provide individual mailers to y'all of upcoming events. Again, we appreciate all your participation here tonight. I think a lot of the questions that you brought up tonight, we're going to answer in our upcoming presentation. So again, thank you for coming tonight, and we look forward to working with everyone.
I just want you to know I'm speaking on behalf of the town officer's office, state representatives, and I think Dean Shaw, state representative office is here. There's others, and this just has moved to the very top of our list. So we want to be helpful. We want to do anything we can to get this thing moving, but I think it's been kind of laying dormant here. Well, I know our offices are really involved and look forward to getting part of this.
Thank you for coming tonight and hearing your comments. Thank you, sir. I'll hand it back to Raj, who's going to, again, answer a lot of the questions the Commissioner brought up, and then we'll be here after the presentation to answer additional questions. So again, back to Raj.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey, and thank you, Chris. So I'll get back to the presentation and tell you all what we are seeing right now. And this site is definitely our priority as well. To clean it up, it's our priority as well. And so just a little bit of a background. The site itself was started off as a form of Bell Dry Cleaners. So they have been, instead of collecting the product or the waste in drums, it was going to the ground. So that's how it got into the ground and eventually to the groundwater. And Bell Dry Cleaners operated from 1988 to 2002. And like I said, it became on the Enfield, it became a Superfund site in 2003, and since then the investigation started. And the affected area that you all know is soil, then indoor air, and groundwater, and I'll go through some of the results for that. And then the impacted zones, we have 4 zones. We have the shallow soil, and then underneath it we have the shallow groundwater, which is about 35 feet, and the deep zone, the unsaturated zone, which is below that, and then the deep water-bearing zone, it's below like 60 feet, 60 to 225 feet is zone 1, and then till 300 feet is zone 2. So that's what's going on. And the contaminants of concern for dry cleaner, it's tetrachloroethylene, it's also called perchloroethylene, and that's PCE. We also have trichloroethylene, which is a daughter product of perchloroethylene, and that's TCE. And then we also have the cis and trans dichloroethylene and vinyl chloride. And I know the Texas Department of State Health Services, has brought some tox facts, and those were at the back table for these chemicals. And so now, in 2003, it was listed on the NPL, the National Priorities List, and the TDLR in 2003, based on all the investigation that was done and based on what we knew at that time, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, they came up with the green dotted line, and they restricted that area, saying if anybody is drilling any wells, because they have to go past the contaminated zone, you have to follow certain requirements before you drill deep wells. So that's what that TDLR line is. Then we also have the red line that you see there, and that was passed in 2006 by Harris County, and that's the water line, and that is the no new wells area, and that's where Harris County had passed an ordinance saying there should be no new wells can be drilled within that red line area. So that's what that is, and then we had some handouts of the same thing in the back, and I think we have run out of copies, so what we are going to do is, once this meeting is done, we will post this presentation on our website, so you can definitely download it on our website, so you have all these maps. And then, we do have Harris County representatives from Harris County here, so if you have any questions on the water line, they'll be here to answer that. If you have any questions on the TDLR line, I don't believe is David Gunn here? No, he's not. So we can take questions back to them and maybe we can get the answers. So what are the response actions we've taken so far? Yes, it's taken a long time, but what is it that we have done so far? So in 2008, even when we found out that there is this plume in the neighborhood, what EPA had done at that time, we did a time critical removal action. We worked out with the White Oak Bend Mud, and we put in this public water supply line, this main line. So that was what EPA had done back then. And once you put in the main line, that's that red line that you saw that also matches with the no new wells area line that Harris County had. We had gone to the neighborhood and asked for people to sign up to be connected to the water line. And we had 144 residences or private well owners that signed up, and out of those, that was approximately 51%, and 49% of the remaining property owners at that time, they said, no, we don't want to sign up, we are happy with our well water, so they did not sign up. And here we are again today. We are facing the same issue. So Commissioner Ramsey, you asked us how you can help. If you can help us with the neighborhood and have them understand why they need to connect to the water line, that would be a big help. Because we have gone door to door, we're still doing door to door. This week we have our folks there who went door to door, and people don't want to sign up. And the reason is simple. If you can help us solve this problem, I think we can get there. So the problem we are having is, the thing that we're having is, one, they don't want to sign up to be on the water line because their well is clean. So they said, why? I have clean well, why would I need to pay to get water? And so I'm getting free water. So the second reason they don't want to sign up is because they are out of district. And because they're out of district of the mud water line, they have to pay 1.5 times. And if I were there, I may not even do that either, right? So we need to come up with a solution to help us all work together and come up with how do we get past this impasse. We were doing this in 2008 and we are here still trying to drum up everybody to connect to the water. So that's one request, is if you can help, your office can help, that would be a wonderful, wonderful way of how we can move forward.
You've identified a couple of reasons why a lot of people haven't signed up, and that's certainly true.
Yeah.
And certainly the MUDs, and there's utility districts in the area that are able to, or that would be within their service area.
Right.
I think they're willing to look, but money doesn't grow on trees, and whether it's the individual impact of them, or the MUD impact of them, there does need to be a regional solution to this in terms of, it is individual. And when you can, you should tie on to the public water. I agree with what you're saying. But there needs to be a regional solution in terms of water lines or other lines. Maybe that's requires some dollars. There may be, I would have hoped after 20 years, the federal government would have a little program related to tying people on to clean water system.
We have the water line there, so we do have the water line, but this is more this.
Well, there's some that they're doing, but there's some that don't have a public water front. They don't have that option.
That's, that's on the west side, the west side. We are talking mainly about the Golden Wells area, and that's where we are finding the blue. So definitely, I think this is a dialogue we can continue to have, and dialogue that we can work towards, and I'm willing to work, I'm sure our EPA is willing to work with the community and work with your office, and we want to get past this impasse and see how we can solve this, right? Because this is what we are faced with. I will show you the numbers in the shopping complex as well. You will see the numbers. We have reduced the numbers substantially. What we are facing now is the community itself. How do we get past that? So that's where we are. I will continue on with my presentation. And so in terms of the shopping complex itself, we had done, somebody brought up bioremediation, right? So we had done bioremediation injections back in 2016 and 2018. And based on the results that we saw, the source area well, the most contaminated well, that reduced 99%. Like once we did the bioremediation. And similarly, the downgraded well, it reduced 97%. And there is, and I'll talk more about it, there is rebound happening, there is some contamination coming back, and somebody was asking me the question, what do you mean by rebound, why is contamination coming back? And that's because what happens is when you inject bioremediation into the ground, it may not cover, because like I said, it's an estimate, right? So we estimate this much what we think is in the ground, but then it cleans up that area or radius of influence, but there could be contamination outside that area of influence, that once this area of influence is cleaned up, that comes into that area. So then we are seeing hits again in the monitoring wells, and I'll show you, and that's in one of the maps, so you can see that. So that's what we're trying to do right now. In May of this year, we are trying to do another hotspot injection for the hotspot wells where we are finding some contamination, so we are going to do that. So we are trying to tackle this. Nature takes its own course, it takes time, so we are constantly monitoring it, evaluating it, and so we are going to take that step. And then in the meantime, in 2017, we started seeing some indoor air hits in the shopping complex itself. So in 2018, we put in a vapor mitigation system. It's like an exhaust system. And then indoor air was back to safe levels as soon as we put that in. And then in 2019, this is when I remember before the pandemic, we had a couple of meetings in 2019 where we came and talked about the soil vapor extraction system. And that is what is extracting what is out underneath the shopping complex. Extracting out the vapor that's underneath the shopping complex, both in the shallow zone and in the intermediate deeper zone. And it's just pulling that vapors out. And it's almost like a vacuum cleaner. It's just pulling it all out. And based on that, based on our September 22 results, even the results that you're seeing, 99%, again I'll repeat that, 99% reduction in the source area samples we're seeing. And that is remarkable from what we can see. I know it's taking time, but that's what it takes. And the indoor air not only is at safe levels for the industrial, but the indoor air in the shopping complex is safe for residential levels as well, cleaning levels as well. So that's what our results are showing. So I know all these steps take time. It's taken us this long, but we are getting there. Because the one thing that's uncertain in all of this is the endpoint is uncertain because we don't know how much is actually wrong. We are all using the technologies available right now to figure that out. And once we figure that out, we go and actually remediate, not try, but we remediate. And then it shows up again. So we are like, okay, maybe we have to expand our area. So that's how it happens. We all don't have a magic ball. We are using data to lead us to the next steps. I'm sorry? There's a signage in the SB system. We have signs in the back of the shopping complex. So I'll just quickly, these are the maps that are put up there. And I'll quickly walk through, so then after the meeting you can all go take a look at the maps. It's maps yourselves. And this is a potentiometric surface map. What that means is, this shows you the direction of groundwater flow. And why this is relevant is you can see how the groundwater is moving. And so this is for the shallow groundwater bearing zone. It's from 0 to 35 feet. So it is moving from north to south. So that's how this groundwater is moving. And this is what we're seeing in the results for the shallow water bearing zone. And like you can see, the results are, the results have come out substantially. Like I said, like 99% reduction, 97% reduction. Now it's some of them we're seeing some rebound, and that's what is in the yellow area. And that's where we're going to do some hotspot treatment because we've seen some rebound there. So we're going to do some hotspot treatment in that area. This is in the shopping complex itself, and then this is the deeper zone, the zone 1, where it's from 60 to 225 feet. And this is and then it's kind of like a mounting, like the groundwater is flowing based on all the wells we have. And so we see groundwater going towards the shopping complex. It's just mounting there. That's what we're seeing. And this is the plume that we are seeing in that zone, 20 to 225 feet. This is just for the shopping complex. And again, this is based on all the wells that we've sampled, and this is what we are seeing. This is in the shopping complex itself. And what we did was, we had a request to say, okay, can you please provide us with what the plume is in the residential area? So what we did was, we had sampled all those dots that we see here. All these dots that you see here, those were all sampled. However, those were all under the PC, that is the perchlorate MCO, that's the standard, the drinking water standard, which is 5. It was below that. So that's why we wanted to have a map that we just showed what are the exceedances in the neighborhood. And so we are seeing of all the wells that private wells we sampled, we are seeing 4 exceedances. So that's where we have the plume right now. And to answer some of the questions that is the plume expanding, I do have, if we have time, we can answer question answers. I do have plume maps from 2008 when we did the original plot, and I can show you some of those as well. And to answer that question, no, the plume is not expanding. It is actually the levels are all coming down, and nature takes its own course, and we are trying to get all those levels to be controlled.
Are you only
just for all the different compounds, even the 5, yeah.
Is it a possibility that additional signage can be obtained instead of being behind the public places to put it in front of the public places where it's easier for people to see?
Business when you do that.
Okay.
My business is at that site. You're gonna kill my business
let's wait for the questions till after Raj is done.
So, I think I understand what you're saying. So, based on all the data we see, there's no exposure risk in the target markets. The exposure risk is at the SV system and where the SV is moving the vapors. That's where the exposure risk is. So this is based on risk. So we have put in the science around the SV system. And like I said, the levels have all gone below residential and industrial and residential.
Did they measure that? Done, I guess, done in different labs.
Can I just quickly finish this? I'm almost done.
Have you tested all the units in the strip plaza and the dog shop owners units?
Yes, we have tested a few additional units, yes.
Okay.
And those are all below the residential levels. I should just take questions here. I just have a couple more slides, that's why. Don't have the slide. I just have a couple more slides, or just, yeah, a couple more slides. Okay, yeah. Go back, yeah, go back. Okay, so this, I just have just few more slides, let me open it up for sure. Okay, so this is, okay, so this is the deeper zone. This is the zone 2, the deep zone. It's from 240 to 300 feet, and the groundwater flow is going northwest to southwest. So that's where the flow is. Okay, so this is what we are seeing in the deep zone. We are seeing these values, but I do want to point out that this MW12 here and MW16, we are seeing some vinyl chloride hits that comes and goes. So we know that the degradation is happening. So we know that degradation is happening, and we are going to look at that somewhere. So we are seeing those hits. Okay, so that's in a nutshell of all the results that we have. Like I said, we posted on our website this presentation, and you can all take pictures of those as well. Those are all presented there, the poster boards. And so one thing I do want to let you know is about the funding. So right now, this site is one of the sites that we are getting this bipartisan infrastructure law funding. So that's why we also want to get past this impasse, so we can get to the other side. And so this, so whatever we are able to do here, we want to definitely get past that. And then we want to use that to clean the rest of the source area. We have the last bit we're trying to get out, and that's why we want to finish up. Like I said, it reduced so much, but we want to get the last bit out. And then we definitely want to provide water supply to the public, definitely to the citizens there and to the residents there. And then we also want to restore the groundwater. So that's what we want to do with the money that we get. And so what are our next steps? Yeah, this is my last one. So what are our next steps? So we will continue our attempt to try and get everybody signed up to be on the bottom line. But I think another dialogue needs to happen to see how we can get past this if the residents don't want to sign up. And then we will continue to we operate the SP system. Originally, we were thinking that the SP system will be shut off like in about a couple of years, but we are still putting in breakers from the deep zone, so we have to continue doing that. Again, like I said, we didn't know going into this how extensive this was. We had an estimate, but once we actually start doing the work, then it keeps expanding. And then we also are going to do this bio-injection I was talking about in late spring and May, and then we will be doing some post-injection sampling. And then we will be evaluating the effectiveness of the bioinjection to see how, does that reduce those values that we've seen somewhere in the source. And also we evaluate the effectiveness of the SPA system and see how much more we need to operate. Because that also has been very, very efficient and we brought down the numbers substantially. So we need to see what's the result for that. And then we investigate the groundwater some more, characterize it some more, and keep it in the list. So that's what we have. And so this is what we would like everybody to, this is one thing is, right now we have this public water supply. We want, those who have private wells, we want them to sign up for the public water supply because it's available to them. And we will do the connections. We'll be able to do the connections. We will abandon your private well. We will do all that. The monthly fees, it's your responsibility, but the upfront capital cost, it's on we And so these are our site contacts. This is my number and email is there. Jason's number and email are there. And then I will open up to questions.
Everybody, we have a lot of people here tonight, so I'd like to keep it to 2 minutes each, maybe one question. If we have more time, Raji can answer more. Does anybody have a question?
And we have this room till 8, so we have to, so we can go all night, so we do have to.
Can you go back to the zone 1? Where you show the plume in the neighborhood. Yeah, there. Right there. So, are you saying that plume is now isolated off to the left there in the subdivision?
No, thanks for asking that question.
Or do you not have any wells in between the actual site and the plume?
Thanks for asking that question, because I was going to mention that, but I think that thanks for asking that. So the caveat with this plume that's there is you're absolutely right. We sample, these are all private well sampling. We have EPA wells that we've sampled, but the private wells, these are the wells that, these are the private well owners that gave us access. Even though we have reached out, we have sampled the owners that gave us access. So we have not sampled the owners that have not given us access, because we need to have access to go and take water samples. So you're absolutely right. So it probably, that's why it's a dotted line. It's inferred based on the data we have right now. And so we are going to, if we can get access, we can wait for access. So we want to go and investigate it ourselves, go put in some wells, go investigate it ourselves, see what's going on between the plume and the shopping complex. We know for sure that's what's the plume, because we have monitoring wells all around it, SPA wells all around it. We have enough wells around it. We don't have enough wells, or we don't have samples in those, and that's why it looks like that, and that's why it's, if you come close, it says it's inferred based on the sample. So thanks for asking that.
One other question is that the EPA degrades to vinyl chloride.
Yes.
And so the vinyl chloride is heavy, so it settles to the bottom. In this case, the bottom of the aquifer, which is around 300-400 feet.
Yeah, we got data to 300, yeah.
So we're only showing one monitor well that found in the bottom left-hand corner that has a high rating. Two.
Yeah,
So you don't know, because you're using people's private wells to sample, you don't know if there's vinyl chloride between the east side where contamination started and the west side of the red line.
So a lot of the private wells are like 60 to 225 feet in that zone. A lot of them are, and some of the wells we don't have depths because we don't have depths. Some of them we already have the depths, and the vinyl chloride you see are at much deeper. It's a 240 to 300 feet. But you're absolutely right. That is a possibility. And again, this is the private wells we have seen are between 16 to 225, and then this is the see the below that. Like you said, it goes down and the line.
Hi, my name is Mary Raymond, and I live on campus. I've been in there for 13 years living in my home. Not once have I seen EPA, anyone knocking on my door. The only way I found out about the water testing was from VIA. They were out about 6 weeks ago. Still no word from anybody on my property, on the soil or the water.
So where do you live, you said?
I live on Campos by Iberia Drive.
So that's on the west side of the
Yes.
water line?
Yes, so I've been tested, the soil and water, but I just want to say EPA has never been knocking on my door.
Right, we have not.
Okay, well, you had said that you went to people in the neighborhood.
Right.
So I just want to say, not at my house.
Right, I'll tell you why. Because the where we knocked was all within the water line area. So that's, right now, that's where our authority lies, to go and sample wells in the water line area. However, if we do find contamination that is expanding, right now we are not seeing it expanding. But if data, like when we do a further groundwater investigation, if it does show that water is expanding, then if the contamination is expanding, then we'll expand our plume area or we'll expand our sample area. So that's why we're not covered.
Well, I think that since the Bell cleaners did this contamination, somehow or another, for the people that need to connect with water because of the chemicals being so bad in it, should somehow or another be paid. The owners need to have someone cover all of it for them, because it's not something that the residents here cost, but Bell cleaners.
My question was about the bioremediation injections. Exactly what are you injecting?
We are,
The exact product.
I'm going to ask, if you answer this, John, or I can answer it. So what we are actually, it's called the EHC, it's the technical term that they use is EHC. So what it is it's a substrate which has some added biological bacteria, and it activates, it's a substrate that they inject, and it activates the natural bacteria that's in the ground, and it grows, and as it grows, it dechlorinates the PCE, and then it goes to TCE, so dechlorinates that based on the substrate that's injected. So EHC is a substrate that's injected into the ground, and it enhances the bioremediation of the natural bacteria.
What's the toxicity of the EHC?
That I don't have the MSVS, but we can definitely yeah, 1 second. Can you-
The injection that took place, I believe it was 2013, 2016 to 2018, down bioremediation. I wasn't part of it then. I'm a contractor for the EPA. My company's EA Engineering. I've seen a lot of y'all in the area out there. I go by and talk to y'all, and I've sampled a lot of the tap samples, the well samples there. The emulsified injection that we will use, I haven't seen the final for this one that's planned coming up. And I do not remember what the makeup was of the previous. But that is something that we can get a hold of. We will definitely find out what those are. But it's used throughout many sites all over the nation, all over the world.
I had a conversation with a gentleman about a week ago in front of Mekong Sandwich or Jesse's. I go to those places all the time and still do. He said there was something mentioned about we continue to ask for people to get off the wells and get on the line, and we haven't said why, and I thought we discussed that. He and I did, that the less people on the wells, the quicker this process will go because of siphoning off, or it helps it spread? Is that something that people know or want to
So
talk about?
yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And that was what, yes, that was the original, the ROD in 2010. That's what they indicated, that the reason that it got siphoned to the residential areas because of all the pumping that's going on. And that's a great point, because right now, even though the groundwater, in general, the regional groundwater, it was showing the map I had shown, it's going from north to northwest to so it's going from northwest to southeast. Again, we have to look at all the hydrogeology and everything. But yes, if you have enough pumping going on, and if people are filling their swimming pools and they're watering if they have a huge lot, like several acres, and they're watering it, so you're not going to cause the water to be pulled to, even if your well is clean, you are causing an effect to the aquifer, and you are pulling that water. So yeah, absolutely right. That's definitely a possibility if people are not going to get on the water line, and we are trying to get this Plume contained and cleaned up. But if people are pulling and filling their pools and watering, it's a possibility, yes. And we have to look again. It's at different levels, but that is definitely possible. Yes, thank you.
Hi, Raji. I'd just like to thank you for coming out. We've been waiting for many years for you guys to personally come out here. I have a couple questions. One, the health department is not recognizing a lot of cancers in the area. We need the health department to work with the illnesses that are being found in the area. So I would hope that now that I'm saying publicly, there's a lot of cancers that are not being documented. Also, childhood cancer needs to be documented. The other thing I would like to say is the mud municipality. Perk is heavy, vinyl chloride is heavy, falls to the lowest level in the aquifer, yes? Yeah.
Vinyl chloride, yes.
Yes, okay. So the water municipality is pumping from the Evangeline, the lowest aquifer. They're only supposed to check every 5 years for chemicals, these particular chemicals. They just started pumping in the Evangeline. I'm asking you, the EPA, to help them pay to test for vinyl chloride that is in the Cypress water. Potentially, maybe, we don't know, but let's test. Let's find out. We're sucking from that lower aquifer. That's where it's falling. Nobody's testing that water. We need it tested. People are drinking it every day and bathing in it every day. Okay, and also, lastly, there are some people here that have gone to some of the strip plazas around the area, that work there, that have frequented there, that have cancer. They're here to talk about it. Also, there's people outside of that plume that are very ill. I walk the streets, I talk to them, I see them personally. You need to look outside of your admitted plume, because this aquifer, the plume itself has moved direction, correct? It's moved north, it's moved west. It's moved in different directions at different times, yes or no?
I will show you the map from 2008.
Okay, what about right now, a map from right now?
Yeah, that's the one we are
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
What we are seeing, the plume has not moved from. These are the maps that we are seeing from. This is from 2008, and this.
So we need some real-time testing then, right, to see where the plume's at. You're talking 2008 or 2023?
You asked me, your question was.
Which way is it moving?
So your question was, has the plume moved?
Yeah.
This was the plume back in 2008.
Okay.
And we have the same similar plume, so the plume is not moving.
But it has moved to the north, to the
This is the
east. At different times, it has moved in different directions, correct?
So we have to be, like I said, we only sample the wells that private well owners gave us access. So once we get a clear understanding, and then we will be able to actually draw another plume. We have right now inferred lines, so we can draw a plume map once we know exactly what's going on. But right now, our data based on the September 2022 sampling is based on whoever is giving us access to samples.
Okay, and the last thing I would like to ask is, can we please not move it back to 2024? Can we do it sooner than later? Because we're talking about very poisonous stuff.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
are
very
doing
much.
that. We are doing that.
Okay.
And we need your help.
Okay.
Please help us.
We'll help you.
Please help us. Work with us.
Absolutely.
That's our goal, please. And to answer your first question, we do have Texas Department of Health, State Health Services. So I would like him to answer that question about cancer cluster, if you may.
I got it, Roger. There you go.
Thank you for the question and the comment regarding the perceived cancer clusters in the area. My name is Omar Valdez. I'm the lead health assessor in the Environmental Surveillance and Toxicology Branch of the Department of State Health Services. And we've definitely heard you. As recently as 2016, we completed a cancer cluster assessment. The community was the ones who referred us these cancer cases to us, and we completed an assessment based on a concern about childhood leukemia. When we completed that study, and I'll remind you where the data comes from. The data comes from the Texas Cancer Registry. So we hear about our neighbors and about people in our community having these cancers. Those data or that word of mouth is not concrete enough for us to be able to do an assessment, so we have to rely on the Texas Cancer Registry. When we did look at that, and when we did look at that for the childhood leukemia, we didn't find a statistically significant higher incidence of cancer in the areas looked at compared to the state of Texas. Now, as I say that, let me also mention the limitations of that. That's a snapshot in time. So the data that we looked at was from 2010 to 2016. So this is an ongoing conversation. This is an ongoing evaluation. This is an ongoing referral process. And I'm here to let you know that these referrals to our agency can come from anyone, from any person in the community, from an elected official, from another agency. And so you guys have a very important role in bringing those to our attention. There is an email. It's epictalks@dshs.texas.gov. I'll write that down. I'll give that to everybody later. So if you email your specific concerns in your own words, we'll work with you to articulate that, to see where we can get into the data of the Texas Cancer Registry, and see if we can complete another occurrence of cancer assessment in the area. This is something that is ongoing.
Okay, can you look up Cypress Strong? That's mothers. There's 2,000 of them with children with leukemia in Cypress. Cypress Strong, look it up.
So I would suggest after the meeting, definitely meet up with Omar and get your information. And I know, Chris, you wanted to say something and she was asking a question.
I mean, just in general regarding public purveyors of water, they're required under the State Drinking Water Act to provide testing on a regular basis. I don't believe it's 5 years, I think it's 2 years. But
They said it's 5. I just asked.
All right, well,
Right there.
all right, well,
We need it now. I get that water in my home.
So, thank you again for being here. I was wondering if you could provide a little bit more clarity on why there's a 1.5 extra charge for the water line. Is this a district that's just arbitrarily drawn? Is there something that could be done to change that? Because for folks that are on fixed incomes, adding an extra bill, that is a lot. And I'll say to the previous speaker's point, my household has 2 breast cancer cases and oral cancer. So cancer is looking in different forms and all across this community, and it's definitely connected. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to hear that. And to answer your first question that you asked about the water line, why is it 1.5 times? And I don't, is anybody from the White Oak very not here? Do you want to answer that question, please? Because I don't want to speak on your behalf. Why you charge 1.5?
Hi, my name is Dale. I've worked for Regional Water. I've served the community aspect for about 30 years. The cost to provide water for a community is built into their tax base and their collections for their water. And when you're providing a service that's outside of your community, there's additional costs that may be associated with that. So the 1.5 multiplier is simply to take care of those costs for the district that's providing the service.
So I've got a question, and I appreciate the gentleman being here from the cancer research. It sounds like that you guys are doing a lot of research as opposed to just throwing out anecdotal evidence of this person's got cancer or that person's got cancer. I am curious though, because I understand that you'd like folks to get on the well, off the wells and onto the service if at all possible. But if you're on the municipal or the mud district water, is there any reason somebody knocks on your door, for instance, and they're trying to sell you a water filter and telling you, hey, I know somebody around the corner that got cancer, you should buy this water filter? Is there any reason that you need to put a water filter on your municipal water system?
You shouldn't have to. I don't see why you would have to.
And the municipal water is tested every 2 years? Is that the, I think
I
this gentleman said?
don't know the frequency
Okay.
because I can't speak to how often it's tested, but again, Dale, do you have an answer to how often you test the water?
So each test has a certain time frame that it goes. Those tests are done in a 2-year time period for what's called the Consumer Confidence Report. And every water district is going to do these tests and provide that information to their constituents.
Hi, I'm Leah Stefano, representing the League of Women Voters of Cy-Fair. I'm filling in for our President, Marlene Walrick, who is up at the state capitol right now. So we have been following this issue very closely since our founding in 2016. We've attended all the EPA meetings, we've attended all the FEMA meetings, and we decided it is time for us to make a statement. So we sent a letter to Dr. Vance with the U.S. EPA Region 6 Administrator. I'm going to read it to you real quick. The League of Women Voters of Cy-Fair commends the Environmental Protection Agency administration for conducting the present monitoring and for the second 5-year review of the Jones Road groundwater Plume Superfund site in Houston, Texas. Despite years of remediation, the recent report from the EPA found that it is still not protective of human health and the environment. In particular, the report outlines concerns and steps needed to be taken to ensure long-term protection, since some residents using private wells may still be exposed to contamination. Roughly 1/5 of the private wells the EPA recently tested had levels of chemicals that are not safe for consumption. The EPA action remedy is not protective. The ample evidence provided to the EPA regarding open exposure pathways and is migrating groundwater plane, your earliest milestone date is December 2024. 2 more years during which the community is exposed to private groundwater wells and vapor intrusion. This standard directly affects the health, safety, and well-being of our local Cy-Fair children and residents living within the zone 24 hours a day, every day. The League of Women Voters of Cy-Fair has reviewed the report and supports the EPA actively and immediately implementing changes. Specifically, we support the following items: full disclosure of pollution data, incentives to accelerate pollution control, vigorous enforcement mechanisms, including sanctions for states and localities that do not comply with federal standards and substantial fines for non-compliance, measures to reduce water pollution from direct point source discharges and from indirect non-point sources, stringent controls to protect the quality of current and potential drinking water supplies, including protection of watersheds for surface supplies and groundwater. The concern over cost is not more significant than the concern for water quality and safety of our Cy-Fair residents and/or employees working in the area. As you are fully aware, numerous health studies have shown the impact of contaminated water and vapors on humans. A healthy environment is the foundation of a prosperous and sustainable community. The League of Women Voters of Cy-Fair urges the EPA to provide full local resident disclosure to the diverse community, identify the compounds in quarterly testing, and protect the residents with whole house carbon filtration systems with full connection to the White Oak Bend mud. This site desperately needs your immediate attention, immediate action, and a long-term solution. Thank you.
Anybody in here have a question?
Thanks for all of those, and definitely we also want exactly that. And we want everybody here, you all heard us, right? We want help, but we need your help. We want to be able to do this, and so we definitely want to get there. And I just think since you did bring up the 5-year review report, even though we saw in the shopping complex itself, right, the numbers are underneath the shopping complex, residential levels. Right now, we've been putting papers and it needs residential levels. So we could have said, yes, it's protected. The only reason we are saying the 5-year review said it's not protected is, like you pointed out, it's because of the groundwater that is being used in the neighborhood. So until we can get past this impasse, I feel it's still an impasse. We are doing everything we can. So if there's any other way we can get past this impasse because of the deterrence that the residents are facing, because they have to pay 1.5 times. That's what, that's a deterrent. And people don't want to give their free drinking water for public well. They have to plug their well. So if we can get past this, definitely we are willing to hear you, we are willing to listen to you, we are willing to implement that, because the bill funding that we have, it'll run out soon. That, once that money is gone, it's gone. So we have the funding. We just need to get past this, and we want to be able to work with the community. Yes. Jason's monitoring. Yeah, he's monitoring.
Michael Coy, I live outside the boundaries, but I'm in Amarillo, Marion, and there's no mud service in my neighborhood. How do I get water testing for my neighborhood? And this goes to anybody that has wells outside of the boundary, that we need more data. And the data outside is going to be useful to determining the improvement.
So I have a slide here. I know you want me to see this, but you can take this number down. Regarding testing, we have the Safe Drinking Water Hotline, and you can definitely reach out to that hotline. And then also I have provided 2 links where you have state accredited labs that you could use. And I would like to thank TCQ for helping me get those websites. So definitely you can, that's actually TCQ website, and you can definitely look at those. And the testing, when you do private testing, it's private. It's not like, if you are outside the waterline area right now, we are not able to test because our authority is where the Superfund site is. So if you are outside the waterline area, then definitely you can look at these 2 websites, and you can definitely go to those websites and you can find some private labs, and they can definitely do VOC testings.
Quickly,
Can you say that again, sorry? The question was, if it comes back positive, who do we go to? So if it comes back positive, go to the county, because there could be another source. And there can be another source.
and I'll be happy to, particularly anybody that can get information to us, that's what we're going to do. I just spoke to the health department with the state. After tonight, I'm going to initiate conversations with Harris. I'm not sure why they haven't been contacted. That's a mystery to me, that why the county hadn't been contacted, but we'll get Harris County Health working with the state, and if any of you test positive, get it to the health department. But more important, get it to me. My cell phone number is 713-805-3824. If you're serious about cleaning this stuff up, we need to, please, let me help.
Number again?
713-805-3824. The other thing I would say, and I'll be very quick, you gave a slide that said next steps. There wasn't a single date on that slide. And whether it's, I just like to know what the next step is and what the date is. So I think it's important, after nearly 20 years, that we have some dates and when we're going to do things, rather than continually saying, well, this is what we're, as we used to say in East Texas, we're fixing to. Well, I think we're beyond the fixing to. We need to get into the doing. So dates will be very helpful, I think, going forward. My office will help communicate that to the community once we get those dates. I haven't seen any dates tonight.
Sure, thanks for bringing that up regarding dates. Regarding the project owners, our plan is to have everybody signed up by this meeting, and our plan was to meet with White Oak Bay Mud so that we can have a water line connection starting this summer. And again, that's something we are not there yet because we don't have the number of the interested parties that want to sign up. So that's why we don't have a date there. And continue to operate the SV system, and that's what we are looking at. We don't have a date yet because we thought we'll be done in 2 years, and we're still pulling vapors from the deeper zone. So we can't just say, we said 2 years we're going to shut it down. We have to chase it down. We have to pull everything out. So that's why we don't have a date here, because that's what we're going to try and find out when we can shut the system down, and that's the evaluation we're doing. And the bioremediation, yes, we have a date, it will be in May. We don't have the exact date, but we know we're going to do that in May. And we are going to do a couple of rounds of sampling in fall. So that will tell us how the bioremediation was effective, because we can do everything on paper, and that's just an estimate. What actually happens in the ground and what actually happens in the groundwater is sometimes it's completely throws us off because there could be extra contamination there. So that's why, but all these are happening right now. We are working on this right now, and that's why we don't have dates on this. But we are working on this right now. I'm letting Jason on the
Right here, Raj.
Raji.
Raj.
Right here.
Okay, there, yeah.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Jordan. I'm the Assistant Director of Texas Health and Environment Alliance. We're a local nonprofit that works with communities that are impacted by historical toxic waste sites like Superfund sites. We've been working very closely with the surrounding communities. And I would just like Raji to clarify something for the community. It's my understanding that in the shopping center, the remedial standard that has been set is an industrial standard, and I would just like for you to clarify with the community the difference between the levels acceptable in an industrial standard versus a residential standard.
Yeah, so it's industrial commercial. That's the standard that we use for commercial operations. What we did was we did look at the values, the numbers that we got of the September 2022 sampling, and we compared that to the residential screening levels, and it's below the residential screening levels. And in fact, I have a table. You probably have to close your eyes because it's very busy, but you can come close and take a picture of it.
So Raji, in the shopping center, it's lower?
I mean, commercial industrial versus residential is a risk determination. It's based on duration of exposure. Obviously, for residential exposure, we're assuming 100% exposure over an extended period of time. Commercial industrial is based on a worker working in a facility, 40 hours a week, so many years. So it's more stringent for residential. What we're saying is the data that we collected meets the residential standards. So the data we collected inside the shopping center would meet the screening level for residential sampling.
Is that for water and air?
It's for air. The water is indoor air. They use city water. They don't have private wells. So it's protective of a residence. Their shopping center is we don't have a sign there because it's safe. There's no exposure that would cause an adverse effect from someone going in there with their kid and going shopping. It's the levels we're testing are protected based on a residential exposure level.
So you're saying that the location where the cleaners was is safe?
I'm just saying the indoor air testing that we did.
No, I'm just asking the cleaner area. The reason why I'm asking, that's what my wife's business.
Well, what do we test when we have data?
So,
Yes or no? Is it safe or not safe?
Yes, you can go in there. Yeah, you can, it's safe, yes. You can go in there. You can go in there, it's safe, it's safe. Our data showing it's safe, yes, absolutely.
I'm Jim Morris, and the homeowner, never mind the testing, never mind the next step. What is the date that the site is going to be cleaned up? When are we going to clean up the site? When are we going to clean up the site? What's the date?
I mean, that's a great question because these sites get a jump on us. Contamination's there for 20, 30 years. It gets in the soil and the groundwater. It's very difficult to remediate down to the levels we're targeting based on residential and the levels we target is based on unrestricted use. That's our goal. That when we're done, there's not going to be any exposure that's adverse based on any use for that property or the groundwater. Those are extremely low. They're part per billion levels in groundwater. And again, when it gets in the soil and it gets in the groundwater, we have technologies and tools that can target that, but it takes time. Again, we try to address immediate exposures, hook up people to water lines, address the source area, continue to provide testing for vapor intrusion, address vapor intrusion risk as we see it. You know, we continue to work these things. Unfortunately, contaminants in soil and groundwater take a long time to remediate. The levels we remediate to are extremely low. That's our goal. That's what we try to do. That's why these things take so long. Where we see an immediate risk, we take action. If we see a risk based on vapor intrusion, we put a vapor mitigation system in place. If people are drinking contaminated water, we try to provide alternate sources for water. Now, they don't have to take it. We offer it. So we're continuing to work with these problems. It takes a long time. I'm sorry, it just does. But we do address the risks when we see them. You know, the global actions and then these long-term groundwater problems, they take a while because they've got to jump on us and these remedies, it just takes a long time. I'm sorry.
I have a problem with saying that it's safe. And you guys keep telling people it's safe.
It is safe.
I would be worried, and I would do my own independent testing. I have spent time in Ground Zero, and I was so dizzy and nauseous from being there that I couldn't get out of bed for over a week. So I'm saying be concerned in the area that you are in the plume. It is not safe.
It is safe.
Oh, I'm happy for you that you're so happy. Oh, shut up, please. Okay, so I'm just saying, everybody here needs to be worried and concerned. Thank you very much. I respect what you're doing, but get your own testing from ALS Global Labs. Do your own independent testing.
And I've been at Ground Zero several times, and I didn't have a problem. So that must mean nothing. I'm not going to drop the line, but you know.
One second,
So sorry. So if you're within the red square,
If you're within the red square, is there a deadline for signing up to, if you're on well, signing up for water?
So we actually, we had mailed out, we had given out flyers, I think we had run out of flyers, not flyers, but the fact sheets. Yeah, we have given till March 15th for people to let us know, because we have to move on and figure out the next steps, and the White Oak Mud said, give us a list, and we have to, they have their own process, they have to see if they have capacity, they have to go to their board and get the approval. So definitely, we have given till March, and March 15. So that's something we have to work with the White Oak Mud. We have to cross that bridge when we get to that point, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Would you talk to what the process is in hooking up to the water line and more specifically, the capping or containment of the well, the abandoning of the well? Are they going to be plugged like in the past?
Okay, I want to see, I'm going to call out on somebody, but he's busy there because he was there in 2008 when he did that. Derek, I'm going to put you on the spot and I want to see if you can answer this question. The question, okay, Jason, go ahead. The question was, what is the process to connect to the water line and what is the process to plug and abandon the well? And since you were there in 2008 doing exactly that, I thought I'd put you on the spot and have you answer that question. You can come on forward so we can see you.
So the process to get connected to the water line, kind of what Raji had stated, is it's a multi-step process. And I'm here this evening working with EPA to help get people signed up and initiate that process. So what I'll need from everybody would be your name, your address, email, cell phone, and then I will start that process. But the process will be signing an access agreement with EPA for EPA to allow access to your property, to be able to make the service connection at your house, as well as an agreement with White Oak Bend for them to be able to do the work. Signing up with White Oak Bend and creating an account with White Oak Bend. Then when all of that paperwork is done, EPA and White Oak Bend will work together to make the service connection. So EPA will have a contractor that will come out, expose the water line, do the service tap, place the meter. White Oak Bend will inspect it to make sure everything is done according to their needs. A backflow preventer will be installed. The EPA will carry the water up to your house through the service connection in your house. And at that point in time, that would complete the service connections. And then once service connections have been made, EPA will then work with a licensed driller with the state of Texas to come in and plug and abandon your well according to the state regulations.
What about, does that work? Yeah. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
What about in the shopping center?
She asked if you have to plug the water well.
They were talking about the limit.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that is a requirement from White Oak Bend. White Oak Bend wants to make sure that they're protecting their resources and that no potential contaminated water can make it back into the water system. So not only does EPA want the well to be plugged, more importantly, White Oak Bend wants to have that well plugged as well to protect the overall water system so the community as a whole remains protected. Am I misspeaking for White Oak Bend?
No, that's exactly correct. We utilize an RPG type of backflow device.
You said that's correct. You're right.
Yes, sir. We utilize a backflow device at all residents so that we can inspect it yearly. It's a RPG. It's the most stringent form of backflow device that we can provide for the homeowners there to protect the water resources.
Yeah, and so I'd also like to add that backflow preventer is paid for by EPA as part of the service connection. They will also pay for the deposit to get everybody connected. But as Raji indicated, the monthly bill would be the responsibility of the property owner. The EPA in 2008 paid the deposit, worked with the homeowners to get connected, paid for the backflow preventer, and coordinated with White Oak Bend on doing the inspections for all the work, which was also paid for by EPA. So there is no out-of-pocket cost for anybody up front other than paying the water bill when the bill comes due.
Do we have time?
She said,
So I'm wondering if you could put up the map that had the historical data on it. we can't see the numbers at all. So if you could compare and contrast the size and the concentrations that you had from 15 years ago with what we have now, that would be kind of interesting to people.
I have to go close here myself to see what's going on here. Okay, let's do the PCE one. Okay, this is PCE. Okay, let's see. The ones in red, it says PCE is greater than 5 parts per billion. Okay, this is the deeper zone. Let's go to the shallow zone where is beta. It just says that ones in the ones in red that you see, like the red blocks, property blocks, it says PC is greater than 5. So it could be 500, it could be 5, it could be 10. So now we definitely have the data from them. I probably, all this data is actually on our website, but we can definitely look at that. But right now it says 5, so I don't know exactly.
You don't have any recollection?
I don't have any recollection.
I remember numbers in the 200 or so.
Yeah.
I was involved with this.
Oh, you were, okay, thank you.
I've had the water in my house since it was offered.
Okay.
I'd say it isn't that much, but it is rankling that you pay as much in tax as you do in water. The other question I had was, given that we've got sort of 15 years of concentration data, there was a lot of question at the time whether or not we were seeing active migration from the main bolus underneath the dry cleaner down into the Chico, and whether that was refreshing it. From the data we've had now, is it consistent with what's there passively degrading, or that we're periodically recharging it, in which case the surface remediation may or may not have any effect on what's down lower?
So one thing is, at least from what we're seeing, again, this is based on the samples that we have. We see that it's not migrating based on the samples we have, because I think he pointed out that, he's there, that gentleman is there. He pointed out there's that the gap between the shopping complex and the Plume. So there could be one or two hits there. So, but we know that it's not gone to the west because we sampled all the private wells there, so it's not gone to the west. So one of the things that we had done an optimization study, and this was back in 2014, and this was done by EPA headquarters, TCQ, and they came and looked at, okay, if we control the source, what would happen, and if we just, because the original record of decision had a pump and treat, and we would have been pumping and treating for 100 plus years. We would have just been pumping and treating, and we would never get to the bottom of it. But then what we are saying, so the study said that if you control the source, like take care of the source, which is what we have done, then what is feeding into the groundwater is a lot less. So you can now deal with the groundwater and take care of the residual that's there in the groundwater. And so we believe that's exactly what's going on. So so based on what we are pulling from the source, we know that much contamination. We have pulled 400 pounds of PCE and TCE altogether from the SV system alone. And so we know that that's not feeding into the groundwater.
Okay. So if you have the historical data on that,
we can.
And I don't know what the decay constants are. Or
yes,
like
I don't remember.
But it should be possible to calculate whether or not it's just degrading in place, or whether or not there's an active migration pathway. And if you could find that out and make that available on the website.
And we can look into it. I can take your information down.
And I think the point that was interesting about trying to get people off the water wells is that you can't do anything like pump a lot of hydrogen peroxide down there if people are still using it. And that was one of the reasons why people were incentivized to get off of it, because otherwise you just have to let it passively degrade, because you can't do anything active.
Right, exactly, because we can inject stuff in there because everybody's using the well. Exactly. Thanks.
Oh, and I think you mentioned that you don't have a closure date because, contaminants keep coming back and emerging again, and perhaps for this reason. That would indicate migration, I guess.
Migration is when the plume is actually moving.
Yeah.
But the plume, what we are seeing is not moving, it's there and it's reducing. So that I would not characterize that as migration.
Okay, I mean, you talked about that it keeps emerging again, so that's why.
No, that's not migration, okay. I can explain that point. That's called rebound.
Yes.
So what happens in rebound is, when you, this is for bioremediation, when you inject this compound, this EHC compound,
Right.
There are two reasons why rebound, there are several reasons, but the reasons that could, the reason why rebounds is, let's say we inject, I'm just going to use like 50 parts per million of this EHC compound. I don't even know how much we inject, but let's just say for 50 parts of this EHC compound.
Focusing on this.
And then it goes and
larger.
the bacteria multiply and then it degrades. And so based on that 50 parts per million, that particular area is cleaned up. But then we may not have accounted for all that around that well. So after this is cleaned up, all the other contamination from around it could come back to that well. So that's one reason a rebound happens. And then the rebound could happen is because your concentration was not high enough that you injected. And another reason the rebound could happen is because you could have a radius of influence. Let's say you inject and it only goes to a certain radius, but things outside that radius of influence of that compound, once that is cleaned up again, it could come in. And so we are seeing that rebound, and that's why those wells, even those wells have gone down. Like the numbers were a lot higher when we started. Those numbers have come down substantially. So now we are dealing with what's residual that's coming back, and eventually it'll go to DC and then methane and
Okay, I was following up from what he said, but so the question I was really asked to speak on was, if there's a daycare in the center, which there is, can that be tested? Is that being tested as far as vapors on the commercial level, or can that be attenuated to a residential level?
Where is the daycare? We can look at where's the daycare?
It's in the area, in the shopping center.
Are you talking about the doggy daycare? Because the doggy daycare we did test, and it's below the residential levels.
It's below residential area.
Yeah, the levels, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
You haven't said anything about filtration or treatment, or reverse osmosis or carbon filters not effective against this particular thing?
For groundwater, you're saying? Carbon filtration? For well water, yeah, for groundwater, okay. Yeah, so when the water line system was being put and when the investigation was going on, TCQ did go and put in water filtration system. And once we had put in the water line, then they got off the water filtration systems and they got onto the public water line. And in terms of being effective, that's something, again, definitely we have to look at those options as well, and we can definitely evaluate those options.
So you're saying they are effective?
We have to look at the values that we are seeing in our, yes, they are effective, because TCQ did put those and they were effective, and we have to size the water flow, we have to size the system based on the contamination in that area. Yeah, it is effective.
If you had your well tested and you don't have any contamination, why would you sign up for the water line?
So one of the reasons could be that eventually you could be pulling, depending on how much pumping is going on in that area, you could be pulling the fluid.
And it extends over time. If you're not, well, it's not affected at one time.
It could be.
But you could also be impacting other people.
It could be, yeah. And then that's when we could see migration. Like, you're talking about migration, right? Like, so if then if it's moving, it's because of the pooling.
If you get a well that is clean, do you not go back there and break again?
We, right now, we've gone back, whoever gives us access. Some of them says, we don't, we are good. Yes, we have John going door to door, yeah, he's gone and talked to them. And if it's in the Plume area, yeah, we can definitely go back and check in the water line. Yeah.
How deep is the test well?
Can you say that again, sorry?
How deep were the test wells y'all dug?
test wells or monitoring. So we have something called CMT wells, that is multi-channel tubing wells, and those take samples at different levels, all the way from 30 feet all the way from 230 feet every week. So we have those CMT wells, and then we also have wells, the shallow wells, we have wells in the 0 to 35 feet range, we have wells from 60 to 20 to 25 feet range, and we have deep wells from 240 to 300. So we have wells at different depths. And we have the CMT wells, which is one well, but they have 7 different channels, and then each channel samples it from different depths.
All right, I am Lisa Gossett. I'm a volunteer with VIA, and I teach environmental management at a regional university, and so have been providing some volunteer assistance over the years. Just confirming that as samples are taken of water and air, it's a picture at that point in time, that it can change over time. And particularly since here we're looking at the main contaminant degrading over time into some chemicals that are even worse, in the case of vinyl chloride than the original chemical, again, things can change over time. Also, when we're talking about the standards, my understanding is we're comparing to the MCLs, or maximum contaminant levels, which are enforceable standards under the Safe Drinking Water Act for public drinking water supplies. So they don't necessarily apply to individuals with wells. So if individuals have wells with readings above those standards, they're not currently required to shut down because they're not public water supplies. With that, for each of these chemicals, they also set maximum MCLGs, which are goals. So in setting the MCLs, this is reading from, and certainly if you're below an MCL, water's safer than if you're above. But in setting MCLs, they certainly look at seeking to protect public health, but they also look at what water systems can achieve using the best available technology, basically the technology we have now. So there is a feasibility factor in there. So I see the hesitation often in agencies in defining what is safe, because that, what one person considers safe and another person might not. But just to emphasize that in these MCL standards, which are appropriate to use for a screening level, they aren't all necessarily set completely on safety. There is a feasibility factor in there as well. And again, for these contaminants, often the goal, the MCLG in the regulations, is 0, which means even if it's below those limits, that doesn't guarantee it's perfectly safe. So some of those considerations come into play. So if your well is within the area or even near the area, why would you want to go on a well? On the public water supply. One is if you test below at one point in time or at 2 points in time, I would argue that that doesn't show you're safe as things continue. The other, as you've heard discussed here, is the potential for migration that occurs as these wells continue to operate. So I do also want to express my appreciation to EPA. I have really watched their involvement increase over the last few years. Getting the vapor extraction systems in at the center has been truly a huge step forward. I know it continued for longer than you expected, but I very much appreciate that step, so thank you.
Thanks for those very valid points, absolutely. Yeah.
My name is Dax Vincent, and we live in Talos. And one of the things I was wondering is, one of the best ways to protect the environment is prevention. And so I've heard a rumor that the people that ran Bell Cleaners had opened another dry cleaners somewhere. And I'm just curious if anybody is keeping their eyes on them to make sure they're not doing this again and contaminating whole other neighborhoods and causing big problems. So I wonder if anybody has any information on that.
I know TC TCQ, they have a dry cleaner program, and since we have reps from the TCQ, I'm going to put them on the spot to see if they can add any comments. And then I'll put up that slide again, which has links for dry cleaner program, but I'd like to see if you want to take that question or anything.
Yeah, thanks for that question. The TCQ has regional offices, and they're just full of investigators. And their job is to get out there and to check these folks out. And in this region, Region 12 in Houston, I know several investigators. They found the problem that was happening at the Bell Cleaners. And they did a lot of investigation for that. There were attorneys involved, building an enforcement case. I am sure that they are watching these folks wherever they are. I mean, I'm not in that program, so I can't tell you the names or tell you that how many times they've been inspected lately, but I think that's a very good point, and I'm sure they're being watched.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Is there anyone else who has a question?
I haven't been able to figure out, you said our website, but I haven't.
Yes, anybody has, can I just?
Is it on your paperwork?
Yeah, it's here.
What's it called?
Do you have one of these sheets? Okay, I'll bring this right back to you. Yeah, you can take a picture of this. Yeah.
Well, it's about the time to close down. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you.